the 100% vegan, the 99% vegan, and the 95% vegan. For every vegan, we can find a vegan who is more vegan. I'm also worried about alienating other vegans. Let's not make a small group of people even smaller. They help increase demand for vegan products. The third one is rationality. I still see a lot of irrationality in this movement, in several ways. So, for instance, the way we talk about the health benefits of vegan diets. Sometimes we exaggerate, right? On Netflix documentaries, for instance, like What the Health, it's basically often vegan propaganda, and we try to present veganism as something that can cure any disease or any physical condition. That is clearly not true. I call that veganomania. Okay, they believe that veganism can solve any health problem. I also see irrationality in how people relate sometimes to, for instance, big businesses. I'm not that much of a fan of capitalism. I can dream of much better ideas, much better societies, but I don't find it very rational when a big multinational decides to introduce vegan dishes on their menu and vegans get angry. I don't know. I understand, of course, that people say like, oh yeah, these people have like profited so much from selling dead animals, and now they're going to profit from selling vegan food as well. Yeah, I understand the frustration, but we have to be pragmatic here. We have to know that these companies or these restaurants help a lot in normalizing this whole vegan thing, and that we'll get there much faster with their help. I mean, we cannot get there without it, I think. And mostly, I see irrationality in how pure vegans want to be, often in terms of their behavior and their diet. This is the most controversial part of what I'm going to say. So let me present you with 3 ideas or concepts. The 100% vegan, the 99% vegan, and the 95% vegan. Let's see what these are. So the 100% vegan, what is that? This is a spectrum of ingredients or products from big to small. And of course, if you're somebody who like eats a steak once a week or something, you can't really call yourself a vegan. But is a vegan somebody who like at all times, every time, everywhere, avoids also these very small things, these E-numbers, etc.? I'm not sure. So this is a book called Veganissimo, and you see Veganissimo defined one who is vegan to the highest possible standard. And below that, the most vegan. This book contains 300 pages of ingredients that are, or that could be, of animal origin. 300 pages. Fortunately, I have studied this book by heart. Have you? Then you're not vegan. Right? For every vegan, we can find a vegan who is more vegan. We can be so vegan that we don't watch Kevin Bacon movies. This, of course, is a very silly and useless game to play. And you might laugh at these examples, but I see a lot of that happening online and in real life. I want to relativize being vegan a little bit. I have been vegan again for 25 years, so longer than many of you have been alive, so I have some right to say this. Relativize the role or the purpose or the impact of being vegan a little bit. First of all, let's consider these 2 young ladies who are dumpster divers or freegans. So they eat vegan except when they find something in the trash, and they're going to eat that. So stuff that supermarkets or whatever are going to throw away, they're going to eat it. And they call themselves vegan. I'm fine with that. Whatever they do, whatever they pick from the trash, it doesn't have an impact on the market, on supply and demand, right? So if they want to eat that, that's fine. And if they want to call themselves vegan, I'm fine. Conversely, you might be vegan and you might eat this vegan chocolate. What could be wrong with this vegan chocolate? I know, I'm sure you know some things. Yeah. Slavery, yes. Child slavery. Also, palm oil, maybe. Or very high water usage. It's not just beef that requires a lot of water, it's also chocolate, unfortunately. So what I want to say is, even if you have a vegan product, obviously that's not necessarily a good product, an ethical product across the board. So we might consume plant-based vegan products all the time, but still that doesn't mean our diet is ideal. Secondly, the 95% vegan. So you might say, some of you might wonder, 95% vegan? What is that? It doesn't exist. Being vegan, some people say, is like being pregnant. You are pregnant or you're not. That's certainly true, right? I think. You are vegan or you're not. There's no in between. Well, I think that's quite unproductive to see it as so binary, so yes or no, so black and white. I think that maybe seeing it or speaking about it like the raw food people do, the raw food people say, I'm 80% vegan or 80% raw, I'm 95% raw, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, 10% vegan is not very useful, but if you say I'm 80% vegan or I'm 90% vegan, why not? I mean, it gives an indication to other people as to how you're eating. So, I think we can use that concept. And thirdly, the 99% vegan, what is that? It's almost there, right? But not quite, maybe. So, imagine that there's a young woman, not this one, a young woman, who calls herself vegan, and 3 times in a year she goes to her grandmother, that's her grandmother. And grandmother bakes cookies. And the cookies are not entirely vegan, they contain some eggs or whatever, or butter. And this young woman, this young vegan, has explained to her grandmother time and time again that she doesn't eat eggs because la la la, you know. Her grandmother is too old to learn, and she keeps repeating her mistake, and she keeps making those cookies. And this young woman says okay, yeah, I can't get my grandmother to understand, and she's old and she's gonna die anyway next year, so I'm gonna eat those cookies. So 3 times a year she eats non-vegan cookies and she still calls herself a vegan. And I know some people who say she's not a vegan. If she intentionally eats non-vegan stuff, she's not a vegan. So my question is that attitude, who would that help? Would that help that young woman? Would that help the vegan movement? Would we help the animals by telling that person, no, you're not part of Team Vegan? I don't think so. I don't think anybody would be helped. So I think we are a little bit too strict about this whole thing. Let's imagine this is the number of meals you eat in 1 year, 1,075 meals, 3 meals in a day. And let's imagine one of them is not vegan, that red one over there. That's not vegan, it has some animal products. If you ate like this, you would be vegan for 99.7%. That's vegan enough, right? That's vegan enough to be part of Team Vegan. Let's not discuss the details. So, I'm not worried about, confused waiters. I'm not worried about watering down veganism. That's something people say, it's going to be something that it's not meant to be, etc. I'm not worried about a 98% vegan world, because if we get there, the last 2% will take care of themselves. No worries about that. But what I am worried about is about alienating non-vegans. I used to be the vegan that, when somebody asks me, now what you eat and what you don't eat, then I start a long list of what I didn't eat. And the longer my list was, the better I felt. Because it showed to other people what sacrifice I made. Oh, I love to eat these things, but I don't. No, I don't eat this and this and this and this and this and this. Until I realized that what I was doing was, I was painting a picture of veganism as something quite difficult. And I asked myself, do I want to do that? Of course not, that's not the point. I want to help them go vegan, I don't want to discourage them from it. So now I say, I don't eat meat or fish, no dairy or eggs, and I stop. Okay? I don't start about honey, or silk, or leather, or whatever, or e-numbers. They can all find it out later if they want. Just let them start with meat and fish and dairy and eggs. I'm also worried about alienating other vegans. I come across people all the time who say, I was part of this Facebook group and then I left it because I said something about second-hand leather shoes or riding a horse or I don't know what. And they told me I was not a real vegan. And actually, that person left. Right? I'm worried about people stopping being vegan. We know from research that many people who are vegan stop being vegan at some point because one of the reasons they state is that they find it too difficult. But it's only as difficult as we make it. So let's not make it too difficult. Okay? Let's not make a small group of people even smaller. We're still not 1% in most countries. So let's not look at this as a black and white thing, but as a spectrum. And so you have the vegans there and the non-vegans there, and in the middle you have the vegetarians and the near-vegetarians and the pescatarians and the meatless Monday people, and they're all strategically very important because you know what they do? They help increase demand for vegan products. Vegan products are produced by companies not for vegans, but for the people who consume them, and they are mostly non-vegans. There are people who, for some reason, to some degree, consume vegan products. Do you know how much of the liquid milk is already plant-based in the world? About 14%. You think it's vegans drinking all that milk? Vegans are just 1% of people. They have to be drinking milk all the time to be responsible for that percentage. So it's people who, to some degree, for whatever reason, consume plant-based milk. But it's thanks to them that we have all this choice in products. So all these people in between, they help increase demand and increase the offer and make it easier for everybody to be vegan. And lastly, I'm afraid that if we focus so much on keeping our hands clean, we're washing our hands all the time. And we won't have time to use those hands to actually help the animals, or the planet, or whoever you want to help. So, it's very important to realize, if you want to help this movement, if you want to help animals, then yes, you have an impact with your own consumption. If you're a vegan for an entire life, you will have saved a number of animals, but you can save many more animals with your impact on what other people eat. You can be doing all kinds of stuff, all kinds of advocacy. This is a quote from the Bible, but coincidentally it's true. What goes into your mouth is less important than what comes out of it. I mean, by all means, be vegan, be as vegan as you can, but don't lose sight of the fact that with activism or advocacy, you can have potentially a much bigger impact. And advocacy can take many forms. You can be in the street, part of an activist group. You can also donate. Donating is a very important form of activism. If you maybe don't have time, maybe you have some money, or maybe later in your life you will have some money. It will help organizations to set up fairs like this, or to hire more staff and do more work for the animals. You can also start a business. Please, if you start a business today, do something useful, okay? I heard that during COVID, there were thousands of online businesses started every day. And of course, you don't have to ask what they were about. They were about stupid products that we don't need more of. Bear gels, and laundry detergents, and all kinds of crap that the world doesn't need. So, especially to the young people, if you're an entrepreneur, or if you choose your career, do something useful with it, because we need everybody we can get. So apart from your career or being an entrepreneur, you can also be working from home and maybe creating great food and putting that food on Facebook or on Instagram or wherever you are. Only nice pictures, okay? Nothing like this. It's not because you made it that it looks good. It's like with babies, okay?